That's right. Meander a little bit. I just want to make sure. Yeah. Yep. I don't. As long as there's ped access all the way. Are we good to go, Adam? Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to the January Fortville Plan Commission meeting for the town of Fortville. I'll say it again. First meeting of the year. Happy New Year, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:32. Sir, can we run through roll call, please?
Sturdivant,
Here.
Layton, Holland,
Here.
McCright,
Here.
Murphy,
Here.
Bills,
Here.
Bager.
Thank you very much. All right, if everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Moving right along. Number 3 on our agenda this evening, approve the meeting agenda. Before we do that, Adam, any changes or can we approve as presented?
You can approve as presented.
All right. I would look for a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Or a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting agenda approved. Thank you very much. Number 4, commission to select a president and vice president for 2026. Do we have any nominations for president, vice president? Anybody would like to take up the mantle for either position? Feel free to speak up at this point.
I'll make a motion for Nathan to serve as president again in 2026.
All right. Any discussion? All right. I guess, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Now I'd look for a motion for a vice president for 2026. I will note that Brittany did offer herself up as a candidate, but if anybody would like to make a motion, would like to take up the mantle, we'd love to have you serve.
I'll make a motion for Brittany Layton to serve as vice president.
All right. Any discussion? All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. President and vice president are set for the year. Thank you very much, everybody. Looking forward to another great year on the commission. Number 5, commission to consider approving minutes of the December 29th, 2025 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes? Any changes, modifications needed at this time? All right. Here are none. I would look for a motion to approve the December 29, 2025 meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the December 29th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. All right. Minutes approved. Get that signed. Okay. Moving along this evening, we have one public hearing. To the public hearing section of the meeting, we've got one case before us this evening. Case number PP01 2026. Commission to consider approval of a 96-lot primary plat for the Ironbrook neighborhood, formerly known as the Wilson property and Vernon Woods, located on 45 acres between 200 West and Fortville Pike, north of the Mount Vernon School District. Adam, will you run us through the presentation this evening, please?
Yes. Good evening. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklakowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town. So the primary plat that is before you tonight is called Ironbrook. It was formerly known as Vernon Woods or the Wilson property during the PUD stage. And to refresh your memory, this is located north of Fortville Elementary, the new elementary school, between 200 West and Fortville Pike. And of course, the zoning on that property is planned unit development, PUD, and the size of the property is about 45 acres. The PUD zoning and development standards were adopted by the Fortville Town Council on December 15th of last year. And the primary plat in this latest version, that of which they are seeking approval, has 98 lots. There were 99 lots that were shown in the PUD. The property owner is still L&M Wilson, Inc., and the developer slash home builder on the project is MI Homes of Indiana. The engineer on the project is Kimley Horn and Associates. And so before you tonight is the plat and the concept landscape plan that's included for your review and approval. It's been a while, actually a few years, since we've actually done a primary plat. So just to give you all in the public a refresher as to what the reason is for this review tonight and where it falls in the process. So think of it as there's really four pieces to the process in terms of taking a raw piece of land and eventually having a new house built on it. So the first part is zoning. And that includes a public hearing, a recommendation from Plan Commission, and then in this case, PUD zoning, which is specific to this property with unique development standards. That was approved by council. So that's zoning is done. So next we move on to the primary plat component. And this is basically where the developer puts some more detail into the design of the subdivision layout itself. And there is some engineering that's, some basic engineering that's shown. And of course, there is a public hearing tonight. And what you're being asked to look at is, does this conform to the PUD? Plain and simple. And then this document only needs Plan Commission approval, so it doesn't go on to Town Council. And then just for your background knowledge, the third part of the process, if this is approved here tonight, would be for the developer slash home builder to file secondary plats and construction documents for review. And that would, that may occur in a couple phases, may occur in one phase, depending on the number of lots that they wish to have in one phase. But there's no public hearing for that, and that's a staff review. And so what I'm asked to look at is, does that conform to the primary plat? So every step builds upon prior approvals. And it's at that point where we look at all the final engineering details like drainage, the road configurations, sewer, water, storm sewer. That's all in final design during that next part of the process. And as I mentioned, that's a staff review. And then after the developer, after they get construction plan approval and the developer puts in all of that infrastructure, it's inspected by the town, and then they are ready to record the plat, which formally creates those subdivision lines. I'll sign the document, Nathan will sign it, Joe Renner will sign it on behalf of Public Works. And then lastly, once that's done, then they can submit for building permits for each of the actual houses. So there's no public hearing for that. And then when these permits come in, then I look at them to say, okay, does that conform to the secondary plat and the construction documents? And of course, the underlying zoning regulations in the PUD. And of course, that is a staff review. So any questions on that? All right. So just as a refresher, here is the approved PUD concept plan for your reference. And then here is the cover page from the primary plat. And so as to be expected, since this happened in quick succession, it's understandable. And it's the same developer that did the PUD and the plat, that there would be a lot of similarity, as there should be, between the two documents. And then this is just an excerpt from one of those pages, and you can see the level of engineering detail that's shown at this point in the process. So not every topic that's spelled out in the PUD ordinance is really relevant to what we're looking at here tonight. So I tried to pull out the pertinent topics for the primary plat stage where we're at right now and what we're looking at to verify that this document meets those requirements in the PUD. So we'll just quickly run through. There's not too many that we need to go through, but I'll give you a breakdown. So first, for the number of lots, they have 98 lots as opposed to 99 is what they were originally hoping for. Obviously, it's in conformance. They can generally they can go less, but they can't go more. In terms of the minimum lot width, the PUD requires that it's 62 feet wide as measured at the front setback line. They meet that standard. The document meets that. Minimum lot depth of 125 feet, and then lots that are adjacent to Jackson Ditch can go down to 115 feet. That has shown to be the case. I should note that I believe on February 3rd, the developer will be going to the Hancock County Drainage Board for a potential reduction in the width of that Jackson ditch. The legal drain is 150 feet wide, and I think they're looking to bring it down to maybe 65 feet on each side, or at least on one side. So a slight reduction down from that 150, but that'll, and thus the reason to have the allowance for shorter lots in case that request is denied. In terms of the local street right-of-way, the public property, PUD called for 55 feet wide, and that would include a 7.5 foot wide street tree planting area on both sides of the road, and that is what they're showing in the cross-section on the plat. Same thing for the street width. They're showing that accurately on the plat. 29 feet back of curb to back of curb is required. In terms of the, excuse me, the sidewalk and the path system in the project, they're required to have 5 foot wide concrete sidewalks throughout the neighborhood, and then 8 foot wide asphalt paths along 200 West and Fortville Pike. And then in the PUD, they have to provide an internal pedestrian connection to the school district property to the south. So what they're showing is they are showing the 5 foot concrete sidewalks. They are showing the 8 foot wide asphalt path along 200 West and Fortville Pike. And they are showing an internal connection to the school district property to the south. They're also adding a driveway / access road for the school district buses, and that would be gated by the school. And they also have the pedestrian sidewalks adjacent to that as well. If you recall, during the PUD phase of this processing, the developer talked about the possibility of the school wanting that access road. And so that they had met with the school district, we met with them as well, and they would like to have that access road there. So that is shown. Excuse me, in terms of the environmental regulations, there are tree preservation easements that are required along the north and south property lines in the PUD. And those have been shown on this plat. They would be each 10 foot wide on the north and south sides. In terms of the external roadways, these actually come from our PUD, or I'm sorry, from our thoroughfare plan for the town. So anytime you do a plat, you have to dedicate the appropriate half street right of way to fulfill at least your half of the road of the thoroughfare plan. So in this case, along 200 West, it's a 100 foot total arterial width would be needed. for future widening. And they are showing the 50-foot half as required. And then 200, or Fortville Pike is shown in the plan to be a collector. So a little bit narrower. That would be 80-foot total right away, so 40-foot half. They're showing that correctly. For the perimeter landscaping, as shown in that concept landscape plan, the PUD requires that they put in a 25-foot wide area along 200 West and Fortville Pike. They also need to have a berm there. They have to have a mix of trees and shrubs at frequencies prescribed by the PUD, and they are showing that. And then lastly, for a traffic study, the PUD stated that they need to conduct a traffic impact analysis and implement the findings. At this stage, that preparation of the traffic impact analysis is ongoing. Since it will not affect right-of-way widths or number of entrances, it does not impact the primary plat. The document will determine the length of passing blister, turn lane if necessary, and those would be included in the construction documents. So since this is a public hearing, there is the basic public hearing requirements. The item was published in the Greenfield Reporter. A sign was put up by town staff, and then a mailing was done by the project engineer. And in terms of any remonstrance or public comments, we have not received any remonstrance prior to this meeting. The project did undergo technical committee review as required by the zoning ordinance, and all of the comments have been successfully addressed. So for primary plat, at this stage, the Plan Commission is asked to make findings that are basically in our subdivision control ordinance. And so we'll just run through this. So first one is that the subdivision will not impede the normal and orderly development of improvements of the parcel or surrounding properties. I would recommend that that is the case. Secondly, that the plat, necessary and adequate utilities and drainage facilities have been or are being provided. Third item is adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress to the remainder of the parcel and surrounding properties. That's the case. Fourth one is the subdivision will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. I believe that to be the case. And then lastly, the primary plat complies with the PUD ordinance, the zoning ordinance, and the subdivision control ordinance if applicable. So based on that, my recommendation from staff would be to approve the primary plat and the concept landscape plan as presented. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to address those. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the presentation. Any questions for Adam at this time?
Just a couple quick questions. As far as the lighting and such goes, is there a plan for that for the development?
No, not for lighting. For residential neighborhoods, they basically just need to follow town utility street standards for lighting. So it would be the typical lights that we see in our newer subdivisions in town.
Okay. And then as far as the access road to the school, the sidewalk portion is not going to be, it's going to always be open, correct?
Correct.
That gate won't go across the sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I had.
Any additional questions for Adam?
Yeah, just a couple, and
Sure.
Robert already helped me answer one of mine, but the 8-foot asphalt path along 200 that will connect to what the school system put in when they built the new elementary, correct?
Yes.
And then back to the gated access road, the internal connection. Do we know what that gate is going to be. The only reason I ask is I know the elementary school, their parking lot currently has a sliding, like chain link fence gate
Mhm.
that prevents cars from coming into the main parking lot after hours, I suppose. I've never seen it closed, but it is there. Takes up a lot of real estate.
Mhm.
As you can imagine, a 30-foot wide gate that slides. Didn't know if that was going to be consistent with what is going to go in here, or more two swinging, V-shaped gates that I've seen sometimes blocking these access roads.
I would say that it has not been, it has not been decided, or what the school district has in mind has not been clearly articulated to us. I would say if there's a preference, feel free to make the preference known and we can pass that along. I think ultimately it would be up to the school district, but they're always good partners with us, and I'm sure they'd be willing to listen.
Sure, I think my preference would be the least impeding, so maybe two smaller hinged gates. So a big, long sliding gate's not sliding behind those. I can't see those lot numbers on either side of the access road there. Because otherwise those residents would be looking out their window and seeing a large gate. Even though it might be in an easement, it would still be, behind their home. So I guess my preference would be the smallest, physically the smallest gates, maybe two swinging gates. Nothing in the chain link family.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has any opinions on that. Preferences.
I tend to agree with you, given the
Yeah.
proximity to the properties. I mean, we want to maintain aesthetics as much as possible for those folks.
Correct.
And I assume that that'll be offset as far from, it won't be right at the property line, but that'll be on the school property, probably at the intersection itself.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had envisioned it being somewhat close to the Wilson Kincaid Street intersection, but obviously, however it would open would never impede traffic.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I could be mistaken. They may have
As far south as possible.
they may have contemplated putting it further south.
I think as far from the neighborhood would be preferential, just to reduce impact. And two, you don't want cars, I'm thinking at night,
Getting stuck.
someone turns up there, they got headlights now pointing into into these residences and then having to turn around, right? They got to back out.
Doing an 8-point
Mm-hmm.
turn.
So you probably want to just dissuade that movement at the intersection itself.
Okay.
To that point, question I had, you mentioned that the access road was for buses only. I mean, is that something the school has stated? Is this intended to be open for school traffic if folks are wanting to?
No, what they've told us is that the intent is just for bus traffic.
Okay, so will they I mean, if it's open,
Right. So
it will be used, right? And
Yeah,
so
the-
are they planning to open and close just with ingress egress of buses?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding, is that the buses would have a remote clicker.
Oh, it'll be, okay,
Much the same way to
automated.
get in your garage.
Okay.
That would cause it to open, then it would close.
So it's intended to stay closed, the majority, that this is not going to be something
Correct.
where we got employees running.
Correct. That's
on
my
site.
understanding.
Okay. Okay. That produces impact then if it's closed most of the time. True.
Yeah, with that in mind, and maybe this is a question for the developer, but I did notice the access road is slightly narrower than the neighborhood streets, and it looks like that left-right turn onto Wilson could be a bit tight. I mean, have they designed the road appropriately for bus traffic, in your opinion, Adam?
I think so, because think of it as it's basically like a driveway. Rather than a true public street. And in fact, it's not going to be public right of way. It will probably, I think that track will be conveyed by the developer to the school district themselves. And then, so 24 feet wide is the typical width for a commercial driveway. So, I think it should be okay.
Thank you.
And all traffic will be likely moving in one direction, right? If it's bus traffic only, it'll be an ingress or an
Right.
egress movement only. You won't have
Right.
passing vehicles. So-
Right.
so
Exactly.
that's-
And also, the other question that we had when we met with the school district is how many buses would you anticipate coming out of this? I mean, we're going to have a lot of bus traffic and, certainly anything subject to change, but all they can anticipate right now is really just 3 buses during peak that would come in, 3 that would come back. So not a huge amount of traffic at all.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions for Adam? All right.
I guess
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
one last question. Would first responders have access to open that gate?
Yes, that's a good question. They would.
Really good question.
They would have, I think they call it a Knox box override. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but
All right.
yes, they would.
Really good question. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Adam. And just a quick review of how the public hearing will run. We will have time in our agenda for the petitioner to come up, present on the case, add any additional context that was not covered in the presentation. Then we will have time in our agenda for the public to come up and speak for or against the case, provide any comment. We'll have time in our agenda for government officials. And then we will have time for the petitioner to come back up, answer any questions that may have come up from the public or from the board. And then we will conclude the hearing with a motion. So with that, I'd like to invite the petitioner, if you'd like to come up, say how you represent the case, say and spell your name and how you represent the case, please.
Good evening, Dominic Dreyer with MI Homes. You said I need to spell my name.
Just last name is.
Dreyer. I'm land entitlement manager with MI Homes. Our office address is, excuse me, 8425 Woodfield Crossing, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46240. I think Adam did a great job of summarizing where we were with the PUD and where we are now with the primary plat. I agree with staff's recommendation that I think we've hit all the points up to now on complying with PUD requirements. I was going to talk about the gate a little bit, but a lot of those questions were answered. So one thing that I did want to note, we were thinking that the gate would probably serve better if it was closer to that internal street of our neighborhood, just because we don't want cars to use that in the neighborhood as an extra parking and block that up. So that was just a thought I think we had discussed with the school, but as Adam mentioned, our intent is once we block this out, to deed it over to the school and for them to determine what they want. With a gate kind of style there, like large chain link that would slide or something. I don't know if there'd be enough room for them to have that to pull, and it would get out of the way and probably block the path or something like that. So I think we were envisioning, and I think they had thrown out some ideas during our meeting of a gate that would open like this or like this in the middle, probably. Being, and obviously with the fob access for the buses, and they did not expect many buses to use it, just the few that they have that need to go out to Fortville Pike. So that was their ask, and we were happy to help them out with that solution. So other than that, do you have any questions for me or my team over here? I've got Gavin Baker with Kimley Horn, as well as our in-house engineer, Jason Coyle, who can help address some of the more detailed questions. So.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions for the petitioner at this time?
Just one simple one. If you are successful, as Adam mentioned, in reducing that legal drain, what would that impact on the parcels look like? Are you going to shift home sites back, add overall square footage to each lot, or is that just going to become common area?
Sure. I think actually how we have it laid out now, we might not need that reduction. We were able to kind of configured the lots. So I think it would just add a little bit more common area with how it's laid out now. In our original concept plan, let's see here, I think we had like 1 or 2 lots that might have been squeezed a little bit, and that's why we left a little bit of room to reduce the back of those lots. But I don't see it for being an issue if it isn't approved. But if it is, probably a little bit more common area, at least as we have it laid out now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've got a quick one for you.
Yeah.
Back to the access drive. I'm gonna beat this horse to death. It's such a unique feature that just a couple of quick questions. So the sidewalk is being provided, I assume, down to the property line. Is the school committing, and Adam, I meant to ask you this, but you may be able to answer. You guys have been in conversation. School providing that connection down to the rest of
Yeah.
theirs at the time of construction? 'Cause
Yeah.
obviously you guys will terminate.
Sure, at the property line.
Right.
I think we had talked about kind of a crosswalk over to their internal sidewalk system on the campus there. But yeah, so it wouldn't just be a dead end and nothing.
Because there'll be a little bit of space between your property line and where the
Sure, yeah,
internal
and they wanna
sidewalk
make-
system is.
Yeah, they want to make sure that it's a navigable pedestrian
Yeah.
access to their system. So I foresee it kind of helping with that navigation, helping, I don't know if you have any walkers or anything like that, but to be able to walk down through there instead of having to go all the way over to the east side of or the west side of the property and down that main external perimeter path that we're supplying. So I think it'll be a good way and safe way to get kids and families in and out.
And what I would anticipate would be on the construction documents that they would show the detail for
Yeah.
the crosswalk stripes and exactly how that's going to happen. But yeah, my understanding is that MI would pay to and would install those improvements as part of their subdivision.
Okay, so MI is doing the connection all the way down. To me, that's a feature of this neighborhood being so close, right? The walkability for students. I think that needs to be open day one, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Want to make sure we don't find out where the sidewalk ends.
And the signage too for the, crosswalk. Uh,
All the
As
safety
well.
features, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The access road, sorry, it's hard to tell from the drawing here. Does the access road not have curbed, or the chairback curbs?
I don't believe it would. Yeah, it would be just a private kind of road, access road, driveway kind of for that bus access. So I don't foresee them having the chairback curbs on that.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have a few more questions for you after the public has a chance to speak.
Great.
Thank you. All right, we have, go ahead.
Joe brings up a good point. Is there a reason why they can't be chairback curbs there? For the buses driving through and the neighbors on either side, there could be
Yeah.
some
Just
drift
if
off.
I'm lot 18 or lot 19 property owner, I have a feeling that, school buses, especially this time of year when it's hard to see visibility stuff with the roads, you're gonna end up with, a bunch of muddy ditches along the sides of your house there because you don't have the curb to protect you.
Yeah, I mean, I would, from a planning perspective, I would have no objections to requiring that. I think, if I remember, part of the reason was the existing loop road that goes through the school district property. I don't think they have a chairback curb. I think they might have gotten a variance for that, or there was something where they didn't put that in, so.
Or maybe, because I've seen it in other places, maybe the chairback curb just comes down
Can
to
it
a
transition it down?
transition.
Yeah.
At the property line, right?
But I think, again, if you wanted to require it, you certainly could.
With that sidewalk too, going to the schools.
Yeah.
Some additional protection.
I think it'd be nice just for those homeowners.
It's an aesthetic. Yeah. That's a good point.
That may change their drainage plan just a tad bit. I guess that'd be a question for the petitioner, but they may have to install some curb inlets.
Mhm.
or something because of that.
Okay. They do have their engineer here, so if that comes up, we can certainly follow up on that. He's here. All right, we do have time in our agenda for public comment. If anybody would like to speak for or against the case, has questions on what's shown in the primary plat, now is your opportunity to do so. But ask that if you do come down to the microphone, say and spell your name and your address, please. And do we have anyone else on the line? Looks like we just have Tyler. Are there a few other folks on? We got a few folks. Okay. We got someone coming to the mic, but if you would like to speak, feel free after this gentleman speaks to unmute yourself as well.
Mike Russell, Russell, live at 8425 North Fortville Pike, which is directly across from this proposed development. Would like to point out first thing, that first print you showed up, it was colorized, so there's original proposal. They did move their entrance down south a little bit. It's now directly across from my driveway. So just want to point that out. That's not the new print really doesn't show where it's at with my driveway. So all they marked my driveway with a 6-inch CMP or CM. Yeah, something. That's how they marked my driveway on that print. But anyway, that's beside the point. Just wanted to point that out though. Part of this I found out tonight will come up when you're in the construction plan phase, which I'm hoping there'll be another meeting when the construction plans come out or everything. No, so right now I have no idea what they're going to do because the construction plans are not finished yet. So let me start with where I got a whole list here. Speed limit change. Right now, the speed limit is 50 miles an hour in front of my property and this property on Fortville Pike. Sounds like this will be now city limits, what I'm told. What's the speed limit in city limits? Is there a standard?
So it's probably going to depend on your built environment around it.
I know coming from Ingalls down, it's 30 miles an hour. Going airways 30 miles an hour, big wide road, I'm 50. So
Yeah, I think we would definitely want to reduce it. Do you know what it is, Joe, by say Mount Vernon North? Okay.
It drops. I think it starts 50 at 234 as you come in, it drops to 45 as you come on in town. It does drop. That's all town speed limit ordinance, with the exception of the part that's just south of it. That's part of the county highway department. And I did talk to a Gary Poole over there, and he said he would be willing to work with the town, whatever we saw fit that needs to be built. They'll change his speed down there as well, and that's what we want.
Okay.
yeah, correct. It goes 50, 45, 30, 30, 45, 50 coming out. Same, yeah.
Yeah, so I would
And
think.
50 means 70, by the way.
Yeah, 50's,
That's a suggestion.
yeah, 50's too fast now that it urbanizes in that area.
Yeah, it won't slow them down. I say we can't even hold a conversation on our front porch with traffic right now. So
I guess that would be a question for, and maybe we'll follow up on this, is would the speed limit change be concurrent with the development of the property? Once we've got, an access point with folks pulling in and out. Yeah. In the TIA? Is that something you want us to throw in conditions tonight? Is the okay?
yeah, see, what's one thing I just found out too. They didn't share this print with you. They sent me a proposed print with whatever, depending on traffic study, and they're looking at doing a blister on the east side of the road, which is my side. It's 100 foot coming down, flaring out for 150 feet and 14 feet more, and then flaring back on there. It takes in 3 different properties there. It shows it in that small print. You can barely see it there. But that would be 14 feet of my driveway, my property right there. I'm worried about the elevations. I say again, that's taking 14 feet off the front of my yard. So I worry about that. That's why I like to see that speed limit down, because they will fly around. People turning left, they'll just fly around that. And right now, about 2 to 3 times a year, I get people in my front yard because they drop off the road there. The road elevation is approximately 18 inches above my property right now. So we have that elevation change. That'll have something done with that. So all part of the construction documents that yet to be seen. So FYI, so I'd like to get my point in on that right away. I would propose, I don't know if it can be done, is put more of a center turn lane in and take more of the property out of their side. So I can shift that whole thing over, do a center turn lane both ways. So don't know if it can be done or not, but it's an option, throw it out there. Also with the new drive, all cars turning left out of the addition, their headlights will sweep right across front of my house. My bedrooms are in front of the house, and who knows? I don't know what that traffic will be yet, but it'll be more. Sure. So throw that out there. I see my mailbox. I lose a mailbox every year through semis, farm equipment, people coming off the road, whatever. So I would request if I have to take a blister on my side, an additional blister to get my mailbox off of that a little bit. So some landscaping around it. I don't know, for noise control and all that. Let's see. I did notice going north on Fortville Pike, once you pass Mr. Moore's property, the first entrance into the next subdivision, there's no blister on that. So across from that drive, next drive it does. Am I right in that, Doug? So one has a blister, one doesn't. So gotta think about it back down south too. I don't know the difference between this one doesn't need it, next drive down does. So I don't know if it's just missed or what. So I'm sure there's something else on here I'm missing, but just want to throw that all out there. Let's see. So no additional construction meetings. So I would like to see that if it ever comes up though. So well, this does directly affect me. It affects neighbors to the north of me. They're not here tonight. No. Neighbors on the same side, Mr. Moore, the profits over there. I'm sure they all have the same concerns. So just want to throw it out there. Oh, yeah, I was talking to MI Homes and they came out and marked my property this week. And for some reason, each side of my drive, they marked city sewage, city water. And they said it's probably just a market being clear, nothing there. Because there's nothing on our side of the highway or road right now. So,
Okay.
and the prints show it all stops coming this way. So I don't know if that's going to be a possibility or not. If I suppose you do put it down there, I'll be contacted. So I don't know. So if they're going to put it in or what, so we'll see. I did ask if they put a entrance sign in at their drive. I'd like to be indirect lighting, so I don't have to stare at a light out there all day, all night at the end of my driveway. So kind of thing. Okay. That's all I've got right now. So I appreciate the time and thank you for listening to me. And hopefully you guys just be aware, not only the new division, but all the people it affects around it as well. So appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your comments. I've got several questions here that we'll work to get answers for tonight and then see what we can do moving forward. Anyone else like to speak on behalf of this case, for or against it? Public comment. Anyone on the line, feel free to unmute yourself as well in the audience. Hearing none. Okay, we do have time in our agenda for government officials. Anything to say for or against this case? You're seeing a shaking of the head? No. Oh, Joe. Come on down.
Joe Renner, Town Manager. I just wanted to address the couple of questions as far as like the utilities. There won't be any utilities going through your property or on your side of the street. Typically, whenever somebody calls in locates for utilities to get things marked, if there's nothing there, they will put a flag down, red, pink, green, blue, whatever utility it is, and they'll put an OK on it. Pretty much just letting people know if there's nothing in that area. And I did have a question as far as the passing blister or the turn. Is that something that's required, or is that something that the traffic study is going to determine? Because I believe the drive he was talking about just north of that, the one road didn't have much traffic the way it was designed. One with the passing blister was a main corridor that goes through. In fact, it even ties into 200 West. So I was kind of curious, do you know, is a passing blister required or is that determined on the traffic study? Is that part of what that's gonna dictate?
That's, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, my understanding is it would be shown in the traffic study if it's needed one way or the other. What I can say is historically, as it relates to passing blisters, is the approach that we've taken is we try to take into context the speed limit of the road and what type of development we're trying to have in that corridor. So for example, I know in around Northwest Fortville, the speed limit's only 30. So it's very much old town type of development. And because the speed limit's so low, there's no need for a turn lane there. On 200 West and Fortville Pike, the thought process on the corridor is based on the thoroughfare plan. At full build out, the way this road is supposed to be is that it would be one lane in each direction, I believe, with a center two-way left turn. At least that's what's shown in the plan right now. So same thing with that type of configuration at build out, you don't necessarily need a passing blister or a turn lane, but there's what I'm getting at is there's pros and cons to doing it. The one pro obviously is it keeps traffic moving. The one and it prevents rear end collisions and things like that. The downside is that traffic keeps moving, is that people aren't slowing down, and it could perpetuate the problem of continued high speeds there. So there's pros and cons, I think, whatever you do. But we'll see what the traffic study says and what the traffic engineers are recommending.
And whether we like the traffic or not, unfortunately, or fortunate, either way, it's gonna get busier. With all the construction, the development, everything that's happening down south, down around Mohawk and with the 200 exchange and everything, those roads are gonna get busier.
Mhm.
So hopefully the traffic study will take all that into account and determine whether that needs to be installed.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I have, unless you have something from,
Anything for Joe?
okay, thanks.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we've got time for the petitioner to come back up. We've got a few questions for you from the public comments. If we can go ahead and tackle those.
Got my partner in crime up here. I was going to, just mention the passing blister that we'd shared. We just assume that's probably what the traffic impact analysis is going to recommend. So we planned for that. It might lengthen or shorten, but that's what we think it will require. Obviously, if it comes back and says different, we'll adjust. I think for Mount Vernon North, I would assume that, because I think I noticed that as well. They only had the one passing blister, not on the next entrance after ours, but the one after, it's because it's their main entrance there, and that's probably why it was required. So that's what I'll say to that.
Well, one comment on passing blister versus center turn lane as was proposed. Typically, you don't want to have driveways in a passing blister. They're really preferred on three-leg intersections where you've got one side. You just introduce, the folks entering and exiting their driveway have additional right of way they've got to cross to get to what would be the major thoroughfare. Your conflicts can potentially increase. So you've got additional conflict points. The idea of moving around things like the mailbox, all that, there's just additional logistics and potential concerns. It's just not, it's pretty atypical if you got a driveway directly across from it. Like you would never do a passing blister to four-way intersection, right? You would do a turn lane. So just for consideration, that should be fussed out though in the traffic impact analysis.
Yeah. We will certainly look into it. I think the 45 mile per hour, 50 mile per hour distinction was made. We've got no issue with it. With dropping, it seems like that would be a good safety thing here. I think that's all I had. Was there something specific, Jason, that you wanted to address? Okay. Any questions that I'm not addressing?
One question on the signage. your gateway entrance signage. I know
Sure.
you guys do like to do
Some nice signage.
really nice signage. I think just the comment of, making sure that it's indirect lit,
Sure.
not a billboard.
Sure. And I'm not, I'm not familiar
Right.
with the lighting standards. So we'll definitely comply with those. But yeah, we don't want to, put big neon sign out there
Yeah.
for everyone.
Absolutely. You guys do nice things. I just want to make sure we bring that up and
And
make sure that's noted as a concern.
Sure.
Anything else for the petitioner? Did I miss something? You guys catch me up, or if there's anything you guys have for the petitioner?
Are
please feel
there
free.
plans for a grand entrance monument? I see on the landscape plans, there's just a little tiny indication of a sign. It looks like the same on Fortville Pike and 200.
Sure. I'm sure we will want to put some type of entry monumentation there. I don't have the final plans on that and what it'll look like.
What, if you do you guys, in a community such as this where you have two entrances,
Mhm.
do you consider one of these a primary entrance?
I would assume we're probably going to start on the western side of the development. That'll be our phase one. So I would think that'd be the main entrance. and,
Sure.
Where we're putting models and things like that. So that would be my assumption, would be where our marketing would probably put the bigger sign. And
So off of 200 west.
well, yeah.
And related to that, one of the things that I had asked for in the technical comments, and it understandably got kicked down the road towards construction phase documents, is the pond that is on the west side of the neighborhood. Since it's a really visible pond when you first come in, one thing that I had requested is to do a better landscaped and designed pond rather than just a typical ditch. So for example, Village of West Clay has this, and there's other places that do it. A masonry ledge around the pond with a fountain. And understandably, that can be pretty expensive to do. So in the comments, I had mentioned, what if we did a masonry ledge around the pond, a fountain, and then for the monuments, just do something understated like we've done in our other neighborhoods where it's just a simple brick pillar, has a plaque for the name of the community and the establishment date. So it's not, again, in some of these neighborhoods, we've tried to do less ostentatious suburban type of branding and try to do more community neo-traditional type of branding. Sometimes we've been able to do it, sometimes we haven't. But anyway, my point is, what Matt Howard at MI said is they're willing to look at it to see what their budget is, because the ledge wall can be pretty expensive to do. But maybe if the monument sign is more is not quite as showy and more understated, they might be able to make it work. So we'll see. But they did commit to doing fountains in each of the ponds at a minimum.
Any other questions for the petitioner at this time?
Sorry, one more question regarding the access road. Sorry to bring this up again.
No.
You had mentioned, Dominic, about deeding it to the school, the entire access road.
Yeah.
So they would maintain it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
That's-
regarding the chairback curb comment brought up earlier
Mhm.
on that access road, could that or would that potentially force you to redesign your drainage plan just a tad bit?
Yeah. Jason, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, Jason Coyle, MI Homes, that's COYLE. Yes, it definitely would. We can look into that now that you guys have raised that concern. We can look into it. I won't make any promises here today.
Sure.
I don't like to engineer during a meeting, but we will definitely consider it and take a look at that. Yes, for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, okay. Yes, I can clarify that. One point of clarification for us here on the east and west entrance, are those mounds that are landscaped, or is it just street level?
I believe it.
I
There's
believe
something there.
they're berms,
Okay.
yeah,
With
for the
some landscaping.
beauty.
Okay.
It may not, the berming might not be clearly shown on the landscape plan but definitely on the grading plan.
Yeah,
As part of the construction documents, we'll look at that to make sure that it meets the proper elevation per the PUD.
That, for that construction phase, that mounding could come around a little bit toward the curve of the entrance to keep to shield that pond a little bit
a
more.
bit.
That might help with
Aesthetics
it.
and safety.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
No.
That's right.
Yeah.
And here. Yep.
Shield there. Yeah, if you're looking at aesthetics, come around this way there. See,
Sure.
there's no here there.
It's in the middle. There should be lower speed too.
It's not in the way of radius.
Right. Yeah, any other questions for the petitioner at this time? Good comments, really appreciate it. Okay, thank you guys very much.
Very much.
All right. I would look for, let's see, we are making a motion to approve or deny, approve with conditions or deny the one quick point of clarification, Adam, just as I'm reading the agenda, it says 96 lot. We're at 98?
Yeah.
Okay.
98.
Good catch.
All right, I would look for a motion to approve with conditions or deny the primary plat for the 98 lot, Ironbrook neighborhood.
I'm gonna go for it.
Okay, sure.
I'll make a motion to approve case number PP one 2026, the Ironbrook primary plat for 98 homes with 3 conditions. First one being to add the chairback curbs to both sides of the access road. Number 2, the developer to provide a completed sidewalk connection to the existing school sidewalk system with identified crosswalks and safety signage. And number 3, require a speed limit recommendation as part of the completed traffic impact analysis.
All right, any discussion? We got 3 good conditions here.
Sorry, I do have one question. What
Yes.
was the final decision on the park playground? I did not see it on the plat, so I assume they're opting for the park impact fee.
What was the question exactly?
So I did not see a proposed playground.
Yeah, we would be doing the fee to the town, and then in the event that those funds wouldn't, we would do some type of improvement within the neighborhood. Our intent is to give the funds per the PUD, or I can't remember if it was a commitment or in the PUD, but per lot, and hopefully it can be used on a park improvement in that area. And then if not, we will do something in our neighborhood that'll use those funds. So
Okay,
that would be, yeah.
thank
No
you.
plans for it as of now.
And the idea, Adam, at the time we had this first discussion was possibly something on that park, well, the ground just on the parcel just to the north,
Northwest side.
kind of that. But I don't know if any of those discussions have happened yet, but
No, they haven't.
okay. That can come at a later time. All right.
Correct. Yep.
All right, any discussion on the,
We need a second.
oh yes, can I get a second for that motion with the 3 conditions as stated?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? We got three conditions in here. I want to make sure everything's captured as the commission sees fit.
Robert, would you repeat that 3rd condition, the one about the traffic study?
It was to require the speed limit recommendation as part of the completed traffic impact analysis. That's where
Yeah.
the traffic study or impact analysis would kind of provide it. Joe requested the study provide that recommendation for Fortville Pike.
Yeah. My only comment there would be, do we want to consider amending that to recommend all traffic study kind of findings? Because that could relate to the berm versus the middle turn lane as well, and some other recommendations that come out of that.
Is that part of the normal analysis anyway?
I think so. The
It
TIA
is,
is
yeah.
required as a part of the PUD, and they have to include those findings.
Correct.
Typically, the speed limit's not included in the TIA though,
Okay.
so that's what we're adding.
Perfect.
But like the turn lane,
That all,
any of those recommendations should be included.
want to be sure of that.
Good question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question for clarification. Okay. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? All right, primary plat is approved with those three conditions. Chairback curbs on the access drive, sidewalks connecting to the school property, and speed limit to be included in the traffic impact analysis. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate your time this evening on the public hearing section of our agenda. Really good conversation, really good discussion. Appreciate all of you coming out on this cold, snowy evening to provide input. Really helps us move forward. All right, moving right along, that'll end and close our public hearing section of the meeting. We now have section 7, board comments. Commissioner Holland to discuss and seek input on his proposal to restrict out new taxable properties along Broadway.
Yes, sir. I'll try to keep this to just a couple hours if you don't mind. So this is something that is kind of an extension for those that were at the last Plan Commission meeting where we were discussing the zoning and such of the property west of Fortville down at State Road 67 and 300 West, and really setting that up as a viable commercial to attract viable commercial properties. And we only have about another mile, I'd say, eventually at full build out, as you say, Adam, once we get down to 400 West. So really, when you look at our map, that is the most obvious, or at least land of its type that we have left in the town that could be marketed and attract some of these things. And that's a really valuable piece of property for the town of Fortville is for income revenue and generation. And so I think we want to protect that. And I would think that if that was explained to the residents or potential developers or folks that are looking at pieces of or parcels in that area specifically, but I also want to say extend that to the existing TIF districts to limit any of those property types or zonings, if you will, that do not generate revenue for the town. We would really be doing ourselves a disservice. So I don't know that it restricts a lot of uses. That's where we really need to rely on our staff and our attorneys to say if there's any potential pitfalls there. I know it's been done in some neighboring communities and it was very successful, but I think we are kind of beholden to do our part to protect the properties in town for the future, revenue generation for the town. It's not a tax grab. It's not being greedy or anything like that. I think it's being fiscally responsible. And I would think that any, potential, buyers or developers that come to these properties would agree. They want to be in Fortville because they care about the community. They see the benefit of being in town. And so to restrict what would come from those properties would really be doing us a disservice. It's not anything more than that. It's nothing against any of the other uses. I think that we would probably need to discuss, current property owners in those zones, how it would impact them. My own thoughts, I'll go ahead and add it, is I would think that they would obviously still be protected in that, but if the property were to ever be sold and flipped to a new buyer, the overlay would come into play then. So that's just in a real simple version. It's not real scientific explanation, I know, but just thought I would open up for discussion and see what any initial thoughts you guys had. Or if you guys have questions, obviously, or if I didn't do a thorough job explaining that, but that was my initial thought. It's been in my mind for quite a while. And then the meeting we had last month, it really thought, okay, it's probably time to bring this up and discuss it.
I think you bring up a good point.
Yeah. So my understanding, Adam, is we've got some gateway overlays entering town. So this would be just we would be enhancing those overlays, particularly on Broadway. That's the primary focus, correct? Is Broadway, or do you want to look at any major gateways, arterial gateways into town, collector gateways?
Well, I think you can look at this a couple of different ways. I think the major thoroughfares, the major gateways are the primary, but I also think that the current TIF districts, which incorporate a good portion of that,
Good point.
because that kind of, if you have one of those types come into a TIF district, it kind of negates the TIF district purpose.
Yeah.
So I think that the time is now to discuss that. And again, this can be an ongoing conversation, but it seems common sense to me, so that's why I wanted to put it out there. Adam, I don't know if you were prepared to show a map of the current thoroughfare or the planning, but just going off of memory and looking at a map when I was thinking about this, the current TIF districts kind of incorporate the main thoroughfares through town.
Yeah, I mean, I would say from a staff perspective, I certainly understand what you're trying to achieve, and I don't disagree with that. The only question that I would have at this point, and maybe Tyler can chime in, and I won't hold you to it, Tyler, in terms of you're being put on the spot. But my question is, churches, for example, could be the biggest uses that are not property taxable entities. And if you had, I guess the legal question is, can you restrict out uses like that, religious uses, based on their tax or not tax paying ability, status?
I wouldn't, if I would probably advise against it. I can't say for certain that that's the answer, but given what we know with the Indiana Constitution and how the state has typically handled churches in particular, I think you'd face a pretty big potential legal battle if you were to try to restrict something like a church out of that area just solely for a tax reason.
Those are valid concerns, which is why I bring it up for if there's anything that needs to be, researched, we need to do that. And again, a neighboring community's done that, but maybe in the churches specifically, maybe those were carved out. If they were, I'm unaware of that.
I don't think they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, Tyler, what Robert's referencing is in Fishers, they have an ordinance on the books. I don't know what the current status is, if it's still law there, but I know that is that along I-69, non-taxable, not-for-profits were restricted out. And so there's precedent there, but I don't know if that's ever been challenged. Let's put it this way. I'm from a staff perspective, I see it the same way you do, Tyler, is that there could be issues with that, but
I probably agree with you. I would think it's probably too ripe. And it just hasn't been challenged yet at this point because I would think correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that was probably fairly recently done. And so my guess is, it hasn't been challenged yet, and maybe it won't for some time. But I think there's at least a good faith legal argument, especially with how institutional uses are treated, for a church to make that argument one way or another. But again, that's a little outside of my purview, and that's just off the cuff. So without looking at case law specifics, I can't give you a hard answer. But again, I think that's why it's important that it's just being brought up tonight for initial introduction, and that's something that can certainly be looked into and kind of nailed down so that it's not an issue in the future whenever you get to that point.
And what I was thinking is maybe the compromise on it, if there is one, is that you could restrict the number of acres. So for example, I think, religious institutions right now, to my knowledge, are allowed via special exception if they're not allowed outright in just about every zoning district.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the the problem, to your point, is not, it's not the use that's the problem. It's frankly the size of the land. And, you know, modern day churches can take up typically 20, 25, 30 acres because of the amount of parking and retention. So, but it's not to say that you couldn't still have a church on a smaller piece of land. I mean, there are at least historic churches in town that were done, you know, generations ago. There's obviously different reasons for it. There were different requirements or lack of requirements back then. But the point is that you, in theory, you could do a religious institution on a smaller parcel, period. So maybe that's the way around it, is they're still allowed, but there's just smaller acreage.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is precisely the
What
reason.
do,
I
what do you
bring it up.
think, Tyler, about that concept?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say real quick. I think that's you're going to at least invite an easier scrutiny review when you go that route, because then it's not, you know, this blanket outlaw of churches in the district. And again, where I know it may not be churches specifically, but for our purposes of this discussion, we're just going to stick with that. But at least now you're kind of more narrowly tailoring the reason for the restriction, and you're still giving churches the opportunity to use it. It's just restricted in that nature. So I think that's more plausible. And again, as this process goes on, I think that's just something that really going to have to focus on, making sure that that's okay. Because again, I don't want to speak for Fishers or something. I haven't reviewed that ordinance or anything, but just given what I've heard, would it shock me if a challenge ever came? No. So I'd be curious how they've worded it, and I'm sure that's something that they've thought about too.
Well, then, if there's a consensus, what we can do then is, how about for the next plan commission meeting in February, is we could have a draft text amendment to the zoning ordinance that would describe what you're getting at, and we can look at that Fisher's language, see if that works for us, see if if our legal counsel believes it's legal, and then bring it for your review.
Perfect. What do you guys think?
Yeah, those are great.
From a procedural perspective, it comes before us for review. Ultimately, the town council has got to
Right.
adopt,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, we would just make a recommendation. Town council, though, ultimately has say.
Right. So usually what we'll do, for example, with text amendments, rezones, is it'll go to town council for first reading first, and then they kick it to you. You review it, and then it goes back to them for second reading. But procedurally, you can also, it can start here at the plan commission, and then it can go to council for two readings. So I think in this case, this is how we would do it, is we'd start with you guys first, and then it would go to council for two readings.
Do
Or if
we
they have-
do we want to kick it to the council for a first read? I mean, if there's no appetite, do we want to spend a lot of time and energy? Not saying there's not. It might be worth gauging.
It can maybe be put on a council agenda between now and.
Yeah, why don't we do that then? That makes more sense. I see what you're saying.
See if it passes the sniff test.
Yeah.
Then if it
Just
does,
say
then
that
we
this
spend
is-
some time and energy really digging
Yes.
into.
Let's do that then. Yeah.
But we might not want to do the next one, because we want to give you guys time to do your research and get
Yeah.
it right and be prepared for any questions that may come up or from anybody.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Better do it right than fast, right?
Yep. That's it. That saved you guys some time. It wasn't a couple of hours.
Dishes as always. Thank you. Really appreciate that. I think that's a good effort. Let's see where we can go with it. All right. Next, we've got staff comments. Anything, Adam?
Nothing for me tonight unless you have questions on anything.
Questions? No? All right. Very much appreciate it. I would now look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn at 7:45.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tyler.
Of course, thank you.